cell structure and cell function.
Cells were discovered by Robert Hooke in the mid-1600s.
Before we take a look at a cell structure and a cell's function, let's first understand types of cells. There are two types of cells: cells with a nucleus and cells without a nucleus, karyotes. These are cells with a nucleus. This is where the genetic material is surrounded by a membrane, much like the cell's membrane. Prokaryotes are cells without a nucleus. They have genetic materials but are not enclosed within a membrane. These include bacteria and cyanophytes.
Let's take a look inside of a cell, shall we, and get to know the immense amount of information within minutes.
The cell's nucleus contains the cell's hereditary information and controls the cell's growth and reproduction. Do you see why the nucleus is the heart of this cell? This pink area. Inside the nucleus is where nucleolus exists. The nucleolus, in plural nucleoli, is a non-membrane bound structure composed of proteins and nucleic acids. The function and importance of vacuoles varies greatly according to the type of cell in which they are present, having much greater prominence in the cells of plants and fungi. Ribosomes help in the protein synthesis. Why are ribosomes important to the cell? They help produce energy for the cell. Mitochondria are sometimes described as cellular power plants because they generate most of the cell's supply of chemical energy. In plural, pronounced as mitochondria. Before we move on to the other parts of the cell, let's talk about this chemical energy which is stored into the mitochondria. First of all, what is chemical energy? Chemical energy is the light energy converted into blocks of sugar. This process of converting light energy into chemical energy is photosynthesis. This process occurs in plants and some algae, kingdom Protista. Plants need only light energy, CO2, and H2O to make sugar. That's carbon dioxide and water. How does this process occur? First of all, light enters through the plants. The plants clean their stomata by releasing oxygen and taking carbon dioxide. Water enters from the stems and food is sent to other parts of the plant. The food is the chemical energy converted from light energy. And this process is known as photosynthesis. Now this out green area is the cell wall and just inside of it is the cell membrane. So remember, the outer shell of the cell is the cell wall and right inside is the cell membrane. Chloroplasts are responsible for conducting photosynthesis and to produce organic molecules and free oxygen from carbon dioxide and water. Golgi is a membrane-bound structure with a single membrane. It is actually a stack of membrane-bound vesicles that are important in packaging macromolecules for transport. Lysosomes function as the digestive system of the cell, serving both to degrade material taken up from outside the cell and to digest obsolete components of the cell itself. Photosynthesis is the process of converting light energy into chemical energy while separating oxygen from carbon dioxide and water. The cell membrane or plasma membrane is a biological membrane that separates the interior of all cells from the outside environment. It allows some things in and some things out of the cell for the protection of the cell. It is the second most outer shell of the cell. The outermost one is the cell wall. Cell walls are most commonly found in plant cells and bacteria. Reminder, a cell wall's layer is much thicker than that of a cell membrane. One of the things we did not talk about are centrioles, which exist mostly in animal cells and lower plant cells. We will talk about centrioles when we start discussing mitosis. Endoplasmic reticulum represents the membrane network within the cytoplasm of cells involved in the synthesis, modification, and transport of cellular materials. And right below my right foot is the nucleus, and inside of it the round spot represents the nucleolus. The function of the nucleus is to send out copies of the blueprints for building proteins, which in turn control every aspect of cellular activity. The nucleolus is a large, spherical structure present inside the nucleus. Its major function is to make ribosomes, which help in making DNA subunits and proteins. Ribosomes are these red dots outside of endoplasmic reticulum. Ribosomes are the site of protein synthesis. They are the structural support and the catalyst for protein synthesis. Vacuole functions in maintaining osmotic equilibrium. There are three types. First one, central vacuole, which helps maintain plants' shape and structure by storing water, hypotonic. Second is contractile vacuole, which pumps water out of protist cells to maintain a suitable concentration. Last but not least, food vacuole, which is a storage for molecules that is a food source for the cell, phagocytosis, which we shall cover during later chapters of the book. The Golgi body receive materials from the endoplasmic reticulum and send them to other parts of the cell. They also release materials outside the cell. Here are some important facts about all cells. Fact number 1, all cells have a cell membrane. Protoplasm is the living contents of a cell that is surrounded by a plasmembrane. Organelles are the manufacturing plants of the cell. They produce energy and make proteins, among other functions. So, please remember the specific functions of the organelles. Organelles are the manufacturing plants of the cell. They produce energy and make proteins, among other functions.